Hi, Mr. Ko here again, and today's topic is solving two-step equations. Our goal for today is to solve two-step equations involving one variable, and our California standard for today is 5.0. Now there's only one vocabulary word, equivalent equations. That is an equation that have the same solutions. And here I have two examples. 2x plus 6 is equal to 10, and x plus 2. Now this one's pretty easy to solve, so you know x is equal to 2. So that's your solution. This one, if you think about it, x is also equal to 2, because if you put 2 in here, 2 times 2 is 4, 4 plus 6 is 10. So x is equal to 2, x is equal to 2. So they both have the same solutions. Notice different questions, okay, or different equations. Alright, so today what we're going to cover is two-step equations, and the reason they're called two-step is because there's mainly two things that you're dealing with. Like in this case, you're dealing with a multiplication and an addition here. And we're going to use the same steps that we've used for one-step equations, which is we're going to isolate the variable, we're going to use the inverse operation to isolate that variable, and then the extra added step here is that we're going to go ahead and follow the plus or minus first, and then we're going to multiply and divide last, and then we're going to check our answers. Alright, so let's go ahead and go through this one. So here we have 8n plus 7 is equal to 31. That means 8 times n plus 7 is equal to 31. We're going to isolate this n, so we want the n alone by using inverse operation to get rid of, first of all, our adding and subtracting. So we're going to get rid of this add 7 by subtracting 7. Once we subtract 7, we rewrite the problem. I now have 8n is equal to, and now don't forget what happened the first time. When we subtracted 7, we have to subtract 7 here as well. So our new answer right here is 31 minus 7, and that's going to give us 4 and 2, so 24 right here. Now, we finish with the adding and subtracting part. We now have 8 times n is equal to 24. And again, you want to use your inverse operation. The inverse meaning the thing that's going to undo this multiplication. What undoes multiplication is your division. So we're going to divide this by 8. And again, divide this by 8. When you divide both sides by 8, let's start with this one. 8 divided by 8, that's equal to 1. 1 times n gives me n left. Here, 24 divided by 8 gives me 3. So our answer is 3. Our solution set would be 3. If I place 3 back into here, 8 times 3 is 24. 24 plus 7 is equal to 31. That's our check. Alright, let's go and use this one. So here again, we have plus 1, and I'm going to subtract 1 right here. Had this been a subtract 1, you would add 1. That would be your inverse operation. So here, since I've added 1 or subtracted 1 here, I'm going to subtract 1 right here. What leaves me here with on this side is because plus 1 minus 1 gives you 0. We're now trying to isolate that variable, which now brings me into negative 9x is equal to. Now this part is kind of tricky. If you look at it, it's negative 80 minus 1. And what I kind of want you to do is when you see something like this, on the side, I actually want you to write it out. Negative 80 minus 1. And now, you've seen this before. This is an integer question. So I want you to go ahead and actually treat it like an integer. So you're going to go ahead and negative 80 plus minus, and if you look at it, that's now negative 80 plus negative 1. And according to our integer rules, when you take two negatives and you add them together, you're actually adding the numbers and then it stays negative. So this is actually negative 81. So when you're going through this and you're trying to figure out why did that answer come out to be negative 79, well, that's because you did your integer part wrong. Okay? So I now have negative 9 multiplied by x is equal to negative 81. I'm going to undo this multiplication by dividing. So I'm going to have negative 9 right here. Since I divided negative 9 on this side of the equal sign, I'm going to do it here using the property of equality. And negative 9 right here. That negative 9 over negative 9 is equal to 1. 1 times x gives me x. Negative divided by negative, we know according to integer rules, a negative and a negative divided by each other is going to give us a positive. So negative 81 divided by negative 9 is going to give us positive 9. And again, our final step here is to go ahead and check. So if I check this out, 9 into here, negative 9 times 9 is a negative 81, because negative times a positive will give us a negative. And then if I add 1 to it, it will give us negative 80. Alright, now let's have a look at this one. Here I have a divided by 4, or a over 4, plus 2 is equal to 6. So we're going to go ahead and isolate the variables by subtracting, using the inverse operation of this, subtracting 2. If I subtracted 2 on this side, I'm going to subtract 2 on this side. And again, that's your property of equality. So I now have a divided by 4 is equal to, because 2 minus 2, that's gone, it becomes 0. So I have a over 4, and then here, 6 minus 2 is going to give us 4. Now, if you recall, a divided by 4, that's a division problem. So we're going to use the inverse operation to undo this. So to undo dividing, we're going to multiply. So I'm going to actually multiply a4 times 4 is equal to, and again, since I multiplied here by 4, I have to multiply this side by 4, because I'm trying to undo this division by 4. This 4 over 4 becomes 1. I now have a left. 4 times 4 is equal to 16. And then go ahead and check that. If I put 16 into here, 16 divided by 4 is 4. 4 plus 2 is equal to 6. And that comes out correctly. Alright, let's look at this problem also. Here I have negative 5 is equal to negative 6 plus x divided by 4. And we're going to just follow the same thing. I have a negative 6 here. I need to make that 0. I need to undo that. So I'm just going to add 6 right here. Because a negative 6 and if you add negative 6 to 6, you get 0. So all I have left here is I have x divided by 4. On this side, because I added 6, I'm going to add 6 to this side as well. Remember, it's that property of equality that makes this happen. So negative 5 plus 6 now gives me positive 1. If you remember your integer rules again, a negative and a positive, you're actually subtracting them. 6 minus 5 is 1. Take the sign of the larger number. What we have here is we have x divided by 4 is equal to 1. We need to undo divide by 4. So I'm going to take this, and I'm going to multiply this by 4. Again, property of equality means if I multiply this side by 4, I'm going to need to multiply this side by 4. So now, this and this, 4 over 4, becomes 1, and now just have x left, okay, on this side, and on this side, 1 times 4 gives me 4. So my answer on this becomes 4 is equal to x, or x is equal to 4. And again, it really doesn't matter if, because you're talking about an equation. This side is equal to this side. Let's go ahead and do a final check here. Put 4 into here. 4 over 4 is equal to 1. 1 plus negative 6 will give me negative 5.